Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of In the Prague Seat. No, no, it's not In the Prague Seat. It kind of looks like it, though. In the Prague Seat light. This is 4Fusion Friday. What's Stephen Reed doing here? Who invited this guy?
No
Actually,
idea.
I'm very happy he's here. So George kept this a secret till like literally 3 minutes ago. So we've got a very special guest, of course, from the UK connection in the Prague Seat and all sorts of other things on the channel. Mr. Stephen Reed is joining us here to talk fusion today.
Who knew? Who knew?
I don't know. I seem to recall, Eric and George, that he has said in the past that this is his favorite show on the channel, actually.
This is my favorite show on the channel, and I say that with all sincerity. I watch every show, and as I'll cover later on, I pay attention during every show too.
Cool. Well,
It's
that's
an
good to know.
absolute honor and a privilege to be here.
It's good to know. It's great to have you. So,
Eric
yeah.
has been
So with
wanting.
all that being said, I'll turn it over to George to kind of take us through here today. We've got an interesting four square, all on one band. This is the first time we've ever done this, I think.
Yes.
Yes. So, a very difficult assignment today, talking about cab, but we'll get to that in a second. George, take it away.
All right. Just a couple new releases. Max Walker, Chronostasis. This is second album from this West Coast guitar player. It's a quartet recording, guitar, bass, drums, and sax. Minor keyboards on a couple of tracks. I know very little about him. I I don't even remember where I got turned on to this. I think both uh, Mike and Len have played something from this, and I think I liked it, and that's what caused me to look into it. It's Bandcamp only, so but I don't really have enough spins in, and I'm having trouble figuring out who what I think it sounds like. So just go check it out. I like it. It's good.
Hey George, I am seeing that on Apple.
Yeah,
So,
it came out a few weeks ago.
okay.
The other one I got is Frode Andresen, Dark City. Looks like his fourth album to me, from what I'm seeing on the Bandcamp. But he's new to me, so I'm not entirely sure. This is somebody that Ken came across
I thought so, yeah.
on one of his Bandcamp strolls, and he was pushing it in the chat as he tends to do. It's a Norwegian keyboard player. Came out earlier in the year, like January, I think, but obviously I just got wind of it. Snarky puppy guitar player Chris McQueen is on board. This is another quartet recording, guitar, bass, drums, keys, and it's also Bandcamp only. You could have digital or vinyl. So he was Ken was mentioning that to Pete and Cans today.
I saw that.
Ah,
That's it for new releases. So let's go to the square. Um, this came about. I was talking to Steven one day. I don't remember exactly what was said, actually. I don't remember what set it off, but I just thought of it like Eric's been wanting Steven on for longer than it was even possible because he really doesn't like fusion and doesn't know any fusion. So it was just wouldn't have been the right thing to just stick him out there on an island. But we love the guy, so we wanted him on. And then at some point, I think we had Cab 4 in the square right around Christmas time. And Steven always at least checks out one album from the square. He picked that out. He liked it. So then he listened to the rest of them and he liked those. So it was like, okay, I had that in the back of my mind. And then I think we were talking about maybe that I've never had a one band square and I've never repeated an album in squares. And it all kind of just came together. So I just asked him and it took him about 5 seconds to say yeah. So we are going to do the four studio albums of Cab. They're all enclosed between 2000 and 2008. They are Cab, self-titled, 2000, Cab 2, 2001, Cab 4, 2003, and Theatre des Marionettes, 2008.
So we haven't discussed this, but technically this is also going to be a ranking the albums of Cab show.
Yes.
yes.
So for those watching, while this is not airing on our normal slot on Sunday, um, I am probably going to put in the ranking the albums playlist as well as in the 4Fusion Friday playlist because this is essentially what we're doing today. So, and
Yeah,
we
this
had that
is
on the schedule anyway to tackle at some point. So, I mean, it doesn't make sense to do it again. This is going to be the episode. So now we got four of us. So works
this
out.
is the whole studio discog. They have two live albums that for whatever reason they don't strike me. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard them, but I don't know what it is about them that I got beefs with both of them. I don't know. But these four albums are fantastic, I think, as we will find out here. Eric, Gary Joyce says you are the Ricky Henderson of panelists. You are the best leadoff hitter there is. So lead us off. What's your number four?
I think Ricky's going to strike out today because this is the unfair Foursquare. I mean, for me, it's splitting hairs. There's not a weak album in the bunch. I love, I preach Greg Howe, Tony McAlpine taking care of a lot of the keyboards and the guitar work is amazing. Um, I struggled with this. I listened a lot there, and I'll say this, and this is not to sound bad. They're very similar across the board. There's some variations in the albums, the playing, the writing. Uh, it's so remarkably consistent. It's very, very difficult to rank. And if you erase this from my memory and we redid the show tomorrow, it could be completely different. And I'll just say that. I am going with my number four, Cab 2. The only reason I feel like this one slotted where it did, and again, excellent album, I felt it kind of, and I hate saying this because I don't, it's not negative. Compared to the others, I felt it might have fallen off a little bit at the end, the last few tunes for me. But, you know, that's like a drop in quality from getting 100 to getting a 99 on a test. So, and I guess the best way to do this, because I could sit here and say every song is intricate and the playing is dynamic. I'll give you my favorites. And George and I kind of quipped back and forth on how funny it is that there's various songs on these albums that are named after the players. Kind of funny because George asked me if my bass player ever wrote a song with my name, and he did not. So uh, that
Missed the
doesn't
boat.
count. But I'm going to go with, I think every opener on each one of these albums is a banger. So I'm going to go with Decisions for one of my favorites. Great opener, keys, guitar. I kind of like the laid back vibe on this one under the guitar when the solo is going. And as with most of these songs, I think they really do hold a melodic bass, which I think tends to, a lot of people may not connect with fusion because they'll look at it as these virtuosos playing just solos over stuff, but I really feel like there's a melodic foundation to a lot of these songs. Dennis, I love the intro and the transition to the verse. And the organ, Brian Auger adds so much on this track, I believe. And I think there's even a little wah-wah on the guitar solo, which I always enjoy. South Side is another great one where Bunny and Tony are just on fire. I could say this about most of the songs. Their unison playing is just locked in, as it should be, but just amazing. Those are probably my three favorite tracks. And like I said, I don't feel like there's anything wrong with this album. I just felt like in comparison to the others, there was just a tiny slight drop towards the end of the album for me. But that's my number four.
Pete, what are your thoughts?
I was hoping you were going to go to Steven next, but okay. As I told the guys yesterday, this is very, very difficult because all these albums could technically be a number one. Ultimately, I went with my number four with an album I like a lot, but because it's the album with a different lineup. So I went with Theater des Marionettes from 2009 as my number four. And the crazy thing is, I love Virgil Donati, but I think I like this band just a little bit more with Dennis Chambers in it. And I think that's the splitting hairs we've been talking about for the last couple of days. That's the splitting hairs for me. I just, for whatever reason, I just think Chambers maybe fits a little better in this band, or maybe I just got used to listening to him with the other guys for 3 albums. But like I said, I love Virgil Donati, and I love when he does stuff like this. So it's really really difficult here. But there's great playing, as Eric mentioned. There's so much great stuff going on here, whether it's a Brian Auger organ solo, McAlpine ripping it on the guitar or on the synthesizer or keys, whatever. Bunny Brunell is ridiculous. I mean, his stuff on like Jocko Rocco Circus and the Sultan of Brunel is just absolutely sick. The title track is so good on here. I like the funky High Cloud. I mean, love the pub. There's nothing to not like on here. I just think maybe I like the other 3 albums just a little bit more. It's got to be the Dennis factor for me because I've been trying to figure out like why would I put this at number 4 when there's some drop dead brilliant stuff on here, and I think that's it. And it's funny because I normally, as a drummer, tend to go towards Virgil more, so almost like it makes no sense. But I think that the original lineup really has like stuck with me over the years. Not that this isn't good. There's a lot of other players on here, but so that's how I'm splitting the hairs here for this one. So I'm going to go with the last album in my number 4.
Be an issue of fit. Dennis is just a fit. I mean, he just fits a little bit better.
Yeah.
Steve, where are you going?
It would appear we might all be all over the place here, which I think is fitting, considering just how difficult this is. Because trying to find negative things to say about these albums, because you put one at number 4, you instantly want to find something negative to say because you want to justify why it's below the other 3.
And all you're doing is saying great things, right? Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing really negative here. So I'm going to go with Cab 4, strangely, in the 4 slot. Partly because it's not the 4th album, it's the 3rd album. So Cab 4 is number 3, it's in the 4 slot. Don't do that, okay? This is how much we're splitting hairs here. No, seriously, this is a great album. This is why I'm into Cab, because I really love this album. It is just so good. Comparing it to the other 3 in the catalogue, and it is, we're splitting hairs, we're looking for reasons. I think the production is a little smoother, and it's a little slicker here, and it kind of changes the mood just a little bit for me. I also don't necessarily connect with the keyboard patches quite so much on this album. Some of the keyboard sounds, and that can be a real stickler thing for me in any genre of music. The keyboards sometimes fall into the land of cheese, and they don't do that much across these albums at all, so it kind of stands out a little bit. But that said, I mean, it closes with Day Day. I presume that's how you pronounce it. That is maybe the best song in the entire catalogue, and I'm sticking this album in the 4 slot. It's just so good, and the drumming is so tight. Dennis Chambers is expansive, but he's driving everything along with such a grooving purpose. There's not a single beat, there's not a note that he plays that is wasted. And when he locks in with the bass, I just love it when you hear that snare drum go. He's mimicking everything the bass does through it, and it just locks me in. I follow it. I love it. I'm almost fixated by it. I have to stop doing whatever I'm doing and go, oh, he's doing that thing again. I love it when he does that. And it's a feature across the whole catalogue, but on that song, oh, so good. I love Bass Ackwards. That is great fun. I don't necessarily love the keyboard sounds there, and that's where they kind of stand out. But I do like that thing they do, where they do that kind of slow, ultra quick. They do that kind of, they're meandering along. And please do that again. And they do. They do it elsewhere on the album too. Even they knew it was gold. I think that's fantastic. I love it. So yeah, this is in the 4 slot, and I'm already slavering like a fool because it's that good. So yeah, Cab 4.
I guess I should pick the self-titled so we all have a different one, but can't do it. Cab 2 is my number 4. And this is that we're picking nits here, and I got some minor nits. I think the production is a little dingier than the other ones. It's got a little bassy paul to it that I just wanted a little bit crisper. Like Eric said, it falls off. The last 2 songs, Wah Wah is a little overlong and underdeveloped, and Sunday is the only Cab song I don't like. I don't like that song. A McAlpine composition, a ballad. It's just got no character to it for me. I never connected with that song. But the main thing that I'm sure is not going to be for you guys is that I have never loved B3. When I like B3, I like the growly, like John Lord, kind of thing. The way Auger plays it, like constantly up on the higher end of it, and it's I would just as soon hear a synth. This is the only album where the only synth on it, or the only keyboards on it, is Brian Auger, and that kind of has always set it apart for me in my head. He's a great player, no doubt about it, but I just would prefer a little more variety in the tones. He's listed with some keyboards, but it's almost entirely B3, and that's literally it because the rest of this is really good. Madeline is one of my favorites. Uh, a down tempo track that Tony wrote for his mom, but it's just really memorable melodies. Like Eric said, Southside, that's kind of like at the 16th note funk thing going, and everybody's trading fours in that one. That's really good. And Temperamental is a Bunny solo track that they redid. They kind of make a tradition of doing one of those on all these albums. That's really good. Just a really good album, but minor nits that I had to pick. So that's my number 4. Back to Eric.
I'm going with Cab 4 at my number 3. Being the third album, as Stephen mentioned, don't do that. I have a hard enough time keeping track of things. But what I liked about this one was I really liked the piano. So if that's Patrice Rushen and her additions here, fantastic. I'd agree with Stephen that there's some cheesier synth patches on this one. Um, and like you said, Stephen, that same song, Bass Backwards, is absolutely incredible. I love the piano. It's a great tune, but there are some sketchy patches in that one. But I feel like this one, I kind of thought about that piano sound. I love, I know what you're saying, George. I get it. I just love the B3. So for me, I like those organic sounds. I'd rather hear those than synths. Jam and Toast for me, I think McAlpine absolutely stunning on that track. And again, the piano really adds a lot to that one. Dee Dee, we'll get to that later, but I was trying to do a little compare with Bunny's version and Cab's version. I think I prefer this one. We'll talk about the other later. But I really like this. I think there's some nice grooves on this one. One for the Road, I think that's the second track. That one always kind of fooled me. I feel like it's going to end like 3 times, and then they just kind of bring it back. I love the organ and guitar in that one riffing, but again, splitting hairs, but terrific. I really like the piano that kind of pops into this one. So, Cab 4 at number 3.
Pete?
Cab 2 at number 3 for me, which is the first one I ever got. So I bought that when it first came out. Great album. I also don't mind the Hammond work on here. I think Brian, I mean, that's his meat and potatoes, so it's not surprising that he's just kind of dominating on that instrument. But I think he's playing fine on here. I love Decisions. I think is a killer track. It's got great groove, great drum solo, killer Hammond solo. Madeline's pretty cool. It's a little more laid back, but I like it. And For Joe is just outstanding. I mean, Tony is just so good on that. Great lead guitar, great Bunny solo. In fact, Bunny's solo I also like. I agree. Sunday is probably a little tame, but he's playing a great melodic solo on that too. I mean, Bunny Brunell is just so good. I like Song for My Friend, which has McAlpine doing like this wild Holdsworth style solo, which I think is amazing. Temperamental is great. Again, Southside, killer song. I don't really have anything bad to say about it. I think Eric mentioned a little bit of wah wah solos on a couple tracks, which I kind of like on Top Spin and on wah wah. So I like it. Really good album. Maybe not as intense as the other 2 albums that are going to come next for me, but I still like it. I think there's a lot of memorable songs. The playing is outstanding. So yeah, that's my number three.
Mr. Reed?
It's Carb 2. There you go. So yeah, um, the keyboard position in this band is a strange thing because at certain points Brian Auger's in the band, and at certain points he seems to not be in the band. At certain points they've got a keyboard player, at certain points they've got keyboard players. It seems to be that, I mean, are they a core trio? Were they a quartet and then they became a trio? I kind of get lost as I go through it, but it doesn't really change the albums, interestingly enough. But it's odd that this is the one that goes Hammond B3 because the other ones don't really do that, even though he's almost as present elsewhere. But does give a different flavour. That's not even necessarily why it's not higher up than here. I've got exactly the same reason why it's not higher up than the 3 slot, and that is Wah Wah on Sunday. This album is the only one across the whole 4 where you get to a point. I mean, this is not a short album. We've had an hour's worth of music before we get to these 2 songs. And the other 2, they make me go, and between the 2 of them, they're about 12 minutes long. And I almost think, could we have made an EP out of those 2 and I just wouldn't have bought that? And they're not bad. They are not bad. There's not a bad song in the whole catalogue. I'm not even going to go as far as George. I don't dislike anything that's on here. But I just feel that maybe even where they're sequenced, the 2 back to back as the album goes out, just makes it feel like it's a bit lengthy as you get there. But getting there is fantastic. And it really is. I'm a massive fan of Tony McAlpine. That was the obvious in for me when you guys spoke about Cab, because I love McAlpine. And he's just brilliant on this. Decisions. I mean, he is just super soloing. There are chunky riffs on that. I mean, the riffs are chunky and they are riffs. But the whole thing, everyone's playing off each other. And yeah, I really like the Hammond B3 right across this album. As I say, nothing is short here, but there's a real journey through the songs. And I think Madeline is fantastic. It's mean and moody. There's some excellent understated drumming on that song, but it's exactly what it needs. And then you get Southside, which is just groove-tastic and absolutely fantastic. Love it. So yeah, Cab 2 is in the 3 slot for me.
I will go Teatre de Marionettes. I had real concerns about this album because I knew that Chambers had left and Donati came in, and I like Donati, but first of all, not as much as Chambers, and second of all, sometimes he lacks he doesn't fit in as much as he does the Virgil thing on all the albums he's on. He kind of just comes in with his flavor, and that's what you hire him for, and he doesn't fit a lot of ways, but sometimes. But shows what I know, because he definitely changed his game a little bit on here. You don't have very, very little double bass on here, and that's kind of what he's known for. And he's even grooving. The first track, The Prankster, he's funky on that. And as soon as he kicks in, it's like, I haven't heard this from him before. Those early tracks are all incredible. The Prankster, Kaputli, of course, I love guest spot from Chick Corea playing the Rhodes. That's a highlight. Sultan and Brunell, Purple Mars, all that stuff. Purple Mars is a McAlpine tune. He's got a little bits of his neoclassical flavor in some of these songs. Not a lot. He's kind of become a true fusion guy at this point, but he's giving you a little bit of flavor on here. Unlike some of the other albums too, you've got some guest spots that add something. Like there's Doug Webb plays sax on a few songs. That was an interesting and a pleasant thing on some of this. My issue, if I have one, is there's a little lull in the middle with the ventriloquist and Rain. They're not bad songs at all, but they lose the pace a little bit. Like after those first 4 songs, you're like, oh my God, this is going to be the best Cab album. And then those songs just take the foot off the gas a little bit. Down the stretch, it's great. Jocko Rocco Circus, like Pete said. High Cloud, The Puppeteer, closes strong. It's a great album, and anybody else's catalog would probably be number one, but it's number three here for me. Eric?
You can leave that up. That is my number two. What I really liked about I did have kind of a roundabout, not that I didn't have trouble slotting all four of these, but this is where between Cab 4 and this one. And I do hear what you're saying about Virgil, and I do, after having listened to these, I do feel like Dennis has a better groove or feel. I liked how Steven kind of said it's these guys, they might be busy, but there's nothing Dennis does that's out of place. And that's not to say that what Virgil just, I'm going to use the wrong word. So, um, and I don't want to use it, but I just feel like Dennis is, I say looser, but he's such a good drummer. You don't even want to use that term, but I just feel like he has a groove sometimes that Virgil doesn't. But that being said, I don't know what it was with this record because this is probably the one I had listened to least. George had sent me this one, and I believe I had the other three by the time I got this one. So I was kind of firmly in, at the cab thing, and I remember listening to it, and I was like, it's hearing Tony and hearing everything else. Another great opener with the prankster, terrific riff. But I think one of the things on this one was I felt this did have a more organic sound than 4. I love the electric piano, and it's used more on. I know you mentioned Chick, which what an amazing grab to get him to play on a track. But I hear it a lot in here, and I hear the piano again on like Jocko Rocco. The piano's fabulous on that, and the horns are a terrific addition. I just spent the weekend with a ton of horn stuff between Corey Wong and Trombone Shorty and loved it. So the horn thing works for me. High Cloud, I think, is a great groove. Tony's on fire. Auger, I love his B3 work on that. Sultan of Brunell, there you go, another named song. Um, and I thought the only thing, George, you mentioned kind of the middle. Did anyone else think like the ventriloquist has like why did it end that way? Like to me, that one just kind of fell off at the end. I was like, oh, song's over. Um, I don't know, it just hit me for some reason. I'll go back and listen to it if no one else picked up on that. But uh, and like you said, I don't think they lost a step with Virgil. There are stylistic differences, but he does a terrific job on this. And it placed number two for me after I went through everything and listened to it. Pete, you mentioned the pub. I wanted to throw that one in there too, because that's another one that was just intricate and rocking. And I think George had mentioned where the middle kind of falls off. I think that's where it picks up again with the pub. So,
Yeah.
but that's my number two.
Steven?
Oh, my number two, Theatre de Marionette. There you go. Um, I'm glad that Pete has said how much he likes Virgil Donati because I must admit that in general, I don't. And it's not he's not fantastic, but he is. I have an issue sometimes where any musician, but especially a drummer, has such a style that when you place them in something else, you go, I know who that is, within seconds of it starting. I mean, not to this standard. Let's not even pretend that. I used to play the drums and all that kind of, so I love drummers. I love drumming, and I admire phenomenal drumming. But I do think there's a kind of time and a place. But what's most impressive is that that is not what he brings to this album. Now, he doesn't sound like Chambers. I would use the word, it's interesting what you were mentioning there, Eric, because the word I would use is flow. I think Chambers has got better flow. It just seems to roll out from him without any effort whatsoever. And I think that Donati is just maybe more, not staccato and not learned and trained, but it just feels a little bit more clinical in a really
That's
loose
the word
sense.
I
I
was
mean,
just going to use.
Yep.
yeah,
Perfect.
he's way too good to be clinical, but it doesn't really change the flow of the album too much. And yet, there are lots of differences here because this is the album that's got the shortest songs on it. So there are more songs. This is the album that has got a whole load of people kind of coming and going on keyboards. You've got Tony McAlpine handles the four that he wrote. So there's four songs he wrote. He plays keyboards on them. Bonnie Brunell plays keyboards on three. Sandeep Chowta plays on one. Chick Corea plays on one. Patrice Rushen on one. And then a couple of tracks with no keys at all. And that kind of gives it a different structure, I think, this album. So it's the least cab album of the four when you kind of first encounter it. I would suggest you do begin to feel, oh, okay, something's kind of changed here. But that doesn't mean to say that it hasn't evolved and it's something that is utterly fantastic. Now, in an outfit that don't have the most inspirational song titles, Eric's already stolen this, okay? Because across the first three albums, you have Madeline, you have Dennis, you have Forjo, you've got One for Stern, you've got Bernard, you've got Tony Mac, not written by Tony Mac. It's not a guitar heavy song. You've got Raymond, you've got Alphonse, you've got Dee and you've got Song for My Friend. I know there's no lyrics here, so we're not going to, go and write a story about something, but it really annoys me going through these. But anyway, I think the Sultan of Brunel, at least that's clever. It's quite clever. Okay, I'll give them that. But the bass groove on that is absolutely fantastic. And I do really like the brass on that too. I think it's a standout. It's really good. And I do think that the kind of shorter songs leads to slightly more of an eclectic kind of feel. I like the ventriloquist. I think it lands in a place that it changes the album. It makes it moody. It makes it atmospheric. Just Do It almost lands in kind of, I don't know, fusion goes pop. It's really upbeat. It's quite an optimistic kind of feel about it. And I love what McAlpine is doing on guitar there. It's an interesting thing listening to that because I've listened to that song over and over and over because the guitar solo feels like a straight lift of a vocal line from quite a mainstream song. And I can't place it. And I've listened to it, I don't know how many times, and I very nearly sing it. And it just eludes me. I just can't quite get there. But I think it's intentional. It's not, one of these things you go over, they just stole that from there. I think there's a nod to something that he's clearly going, oh, that's a great melody line. I could adapt that and incorporate it into something. I just wish I could place what I think it sounds like. Anyway, yeah, so Teatro de Marionette, it's really quite different, and yet it fits in perfectly. I think this is a great album, really good.
As the thunder starts rumbling here. You sent it down pretty quick, Eric.
Damn.
My number 2 is Cab 4. I love this album. I used to think, I don't know what I was thinking. I used to think it had a slow start, but I don't know what drugs I was on because Hold On really comes out of the gates firing. And One for the Road, maybe a little off of that, it's a little slower. Then Shizuka is a ballad written for his girlfriend at the time that became his wife, that is now his ex-wife. So probably not a great memory for him. But after those three, the rest of the way is just elite cab stuff all the way through. Tony Mac, the stretch between Raymond, BB's Roomba, Bass Ackward, Cloud 10, Alphonse, it's one banger after another. That's all that, tell Mr. Brave, because it's banger, 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 whether he likes it or not. I mean, it's just so good. And Dee, what a closer. If there's a better way to close an album, I've not heard one. That track is just, the energy is bouncing off that track. I like the 3 different keyboard players. I think that it's a balance. You got Russian's piano, McAlpine with the synth, and Auger with the B3. I like the balance of that and the ability to switch it up. Chambers is absolutely nuclear on this album. He is on all of them, but it feels like he's really taken off on this album. But it's always musical is the word that my friend that was trying to describe the differences. He's like, Dennis is always musical, and sometimes Virgil is a little selfish, like Virgil is doing the Virgil show. And Virgil, like you said, clinical, the word I was thinking is mechanical. Not in a bad way, but just it sounds kind of machine-like sometimes, which, sometimes that really is what you want, but sometimes it's not, Dennis always feels good, and that comes from, 50 years of playing with funk bands and groove bands and just his whole resume. So it was sad for me that this was his last one, but it's just a fantastic album. One thing I wanted to complain about is I don't know which version you guys have. I have the Japanese version because when this came out, there was no U.S. distribution yet. They were still deciding who was going to carry it, and um, I think it had ended up being Steve Vai's label. But the Japanese version, this is the inside. You
Mm.
tell me anybody can read that.
George, I have the favored nations. It's the same.
Oh, it's the same. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
I've got a
awesome.
blue one. I've got mascot. Mine's on mascot, and it is blue type on blue with some red on it. It is slightly more legible.
That's the
Yeah.
one. That's the one I have also.
Red letters over stripes. So whoever came up with this, a pox on you, dude. That's awful. But yeah, it's my number two. I love this album. Just in a set of great albums, it stands out to me. So talk about our number one.
Can I do my number two first?
Oh,
I did think that. I wasn't going to say because I thought, am I right? But I did think that. Sorry, Pete.
It's okay. It's all right. And George, you got all blurry all of a sudden. I don't know what
yeah, I
happened.
messed up when I did the thing. So I fix it.
Bring
All
it
right,
in.
for me, my number one and two, I really debated over because I think they're both amazing. But I'm going to mix it up a little here. I'm going to go with the debut Cab album as my number two. Again, I can't say anything bad about it. I mean, Night Splash is so sick. What a great song that is. I mean, Brunell is such a beast on that. And then you get Tony comes in doing this like monster stuff on both guitar and synth. And then Chambers is just killing it. It's like could be the best opener out of all these albums. Just so good. Cab is groovy and kind of heavy. So There Is Love is really melodic and memorable. I mean, Just Perfect has a super shred solo from Tony. And then he does one on synth. I mean, I love when this guy just blazes on both. It's just like he's just so good on both. Adamanashi rips. Boogie Me's great. It's got a killer solo from Buddy. Elastic Man rules. It's a killer album. I just think I like George said it perfectly. There is some nuclear stuff on that Cab 4 that for me just raises it above. So I'll talk about that in a couple minutes. Back to you, Eric.
Yeah. All right. I thought we were going all four, but
Someone had to throw it off, right?
nice curveball, Pete. I like it. Um, I'm going with Cab as my number one. And I just thought of a four square where we could have Steven back and all the Cab openers. So,
Yeah.
Steve, it's good to have him. I don't I think this was the first one I had, which sometimes is always a bias. And as we've all said, um, they're splitting hairs between these. But again, Night Splash is a great opener. Uh, and Pete, you mentioned Bunny. I guess, talking about Tony with such amazing guitar playing and then the keyboard stuff on top of it. Nobody should have that much talent. So that kind of pisses me off, I guess, in a way. He's so good. But I haven't even mentioned Bunny Brunell, and it's just the way him and Chambers lock in together, and Bunny is so present, but at the same time, I never feel like he overwhelms anything. And again, there's, you know, the merry-go-round keeps going. Bunny has a little something. Tony will play something. Keyboard little. So I love how all these songs kind of mix everybody in. Everyone gets a chance. The Watcher, I love the feel, the unison guitar and piano. There's some great breaks in that one. Pete mentioned Boogie Me, where McAlpine is absolutely mind-blowing on that, and Elastic Man. So to me, this album ends very strong. Just Perfect, I think, has don't laugh, but I heard that opening riff and I'm like, oh, sounds like the Chili Peppers. I'm like, George will kill me for saying that, but I got that feeling right from that tune just as it opened. But again, just great playing. I'll boil it down to the first thing I got from them was this one, but I don't know, just having that core three on this and just hearing all the stuff that they can do just to me is just mind blowing. Or core, I guess Brian Auger was like kind of like Steven said, was he official on this one, even though his name isn't on there? Because I think he plays on pretty much everything here. But that could be me not reading the liner notes very well. But anyway, I'll go with Cab as my number one.
I know you.
Pete?
So I'm going to go with Cab 4, otherwise should be known as Cab 3, right? Um, I mean, there's just some ridiculous shit on here that I just could not overlook. I love Hold On. I mean, that Bunny solo, it's just killer. Love the Hammond solo. And Dennis is just, he's all over the place on here. All over the place. One for the Road is a total crank job. Um, Groovy Shizuka. Again, the bass, the Bunny's so good. Like Bunny is like one of those guys that like he often gets overlooked. He didn't make my top bass guy list last month, and he was in my honorable mentions. But I remember like thinking about it after going through all these albums again. I'm like, how could I? Why didn't I squeeze him in somewhere on that list? Because he's just so damn good. Um, Raymond is just a funky groove machine. I love it. I like Patrice Rushen's contributions to this album quite a bit. I think George mentioned it's really nice you have like the three keyboard players on here, giving some variety, which I really like. BB's Rumba to me is like a long lost Chicory electric band song. Just absolutely love it. And bass backwards, bass backward, whatever, just totally rips. Yeah, this Dee Dee is monster track. And yes, I went and listened to them back to back from his solo album, and this is the version. This is the version. It's really good. So yeah, for me, I mean, I could go with the debut or this, but I think there's just songs on here I think I like a little bit more, and the playing is just absolutely ferocious on this album. So that's gonna be my number one.
Steven?
Well, it's the debut, isn't it? It's just fantastic. Yeah, as we mentioned at the top of the show, this is my favourite show amongst many excellent shows on the channel. I watch religiously every month, and I take notes. I genuinely sit and I mark out a little table, and I write down everyone's scores and I tally them up. And I do also take on board what's mentioned. I try to go and listen to the winner in inverted commas at the end of the show, and sometimes pick out different ones that I think there was certain aspects that probably appealed to me a little bit more than others. Cab are the band that just it clicked. It absolutely clicked. And when I then went and listened to the debut, this is just stupidly good. It is just stupidly good. I just love the kind of the chunk and growl of the guitars on Cab. Um, I'm not the most natural fit for fusion. It's not fusion. It's me that doesn't fit with fusion sometimes. But that is just so in your face. It's so unapologetic. It's quite aggressive, which is an aspect that doesn't always land with fusion sometimes. And maybe that's something that I need. Just absolutely love it. But the fret fire and the snare drum punishment on Night Splash, just ridiculous. Two tracks in, I was going, I've got to buy all these albums. I have to buy all of these albums because they're just far too good. And they've been on rotation ever since. And really, yeah, I mean, having McAlpine on board always was going to help for me because he's just phenomenal. A real favourite of mine in this and out of this. Chambers is ridiculous, but it's that core three together that I really just absolutely love. Do you know? I often find with some fusion, you guys have heard me say this before, okay? And I'm going to out myself on 4Fusion Friday. I am oft want to be heard saying, but where's the song? Where's the song? These guys are just playing lots of solos. These guys play lots of solos, but the bits in between are not just bridges to the solo. Do you know, it's not just about, you know, this is the basis and we'll keep this quite simple and quite clean. And then you can go wild. You can still go wild here, but the whole thing just has a life about it and it breathes and it moves. It's just absolutely fantastic. The interesting thing for me is, and I don't want to contradict you, Eric, but it's actually McAlpine that plays most of the keyboards on this
Yeah.
album.
No, you.
I
I don't
think
know where.
it's nearly all bar one. And I look across the other ones, and that's why I mentioned earlier on that by the time you get to the fourth album, it's almost bring your keyboard day at school. Whereas at this point, it's Tony McAlpine, it's the keyboard player. And that's one of the things I like about this. Because he's great. He's really, because he's such a great guitarist, he's a really underrated keyboard player. And I think what he does here is just absolutely perfect for the songs. And I wonder why they didn't continue that, whether it was just a way to expand the sound or he didn't want to kind of make it more about him or whatever. I don't really know. But it's just absolutely brilliant. It really is. Things like So There Is Love everybody gets to go wild there, but the composition, it's all about the composition. No weak points on this. This to me is a 5 out of 5 album. It's stunningly good. Carb debut. Fantastic.
I saw Tony's band open up for Sons of Apollo, like literally right like days before COVID hit. It's the last show I saw before the COVID shutdown. And he was playing both guitar and synth throughout the set. And I was just like, it was just ridiculous. And I had seen him before. Like I saw him with Planet X. So it's like, I've had the chance to see him live before, but and I think I saw him also. He played with Steve with was he playing keyboards in Vi's band for a while?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw him with Vi also just playing keyboards and a little bit of guitar, but just having him up there doing all his own tunes and going back and forth between keyboards and guitar was just like it's just ridiculous.
My number one as well. I could clear up a little bit of the origin. Like Bunny started talking to Tone Center boss Mike Varney in the mid 90s. And the original thought was he was going to do an album with Sean Lane and Vinnie Colaiuta, which would have been just ridiculously good.
Yeah.
But they played at NAMM together. Him and Sean did, not Vinnie. I'm not sure they got along that great. I don't know that they found that it was a mesh, so that didn't happen at the time. But I think he stayed in touch with Barney and had always had the thought in his mind to do something. And I think somewhere along the line he met McAlpine because they're both California guys, and it just it clicked. And I'm not sure which one of them brought Chambers in, but again, that was Kismet because he's just the right guy for this gig. I'm sure at the time McAlpine played keys because it was expedient. He's a great player, and he's there already. You don't have to do a keyboardist search too. But maybe he didn't continue because of the live thing. It's doable, but it's probably not ideal. Or maybe they just really wanted to use Augur. That I'm not sure about. But yeah, well, as soon as I heard about this lineup before it came out, and it was like so for me, my favorite drummer, a rockish guitar player, and I love Brunell going all the way back. So did not disappoint. Night Splash. One guy I know that doesn't like the song, he complained about it. He's like, "There's no song there. It's just they play the head, and then everybody solos a lot." I'm like, "Okay, it doesn't always have to be a super developed epic. It's an opener. It's a punchy opener. Cab, the second song, is like the exact opposite. They got this trudging riff that just lets people groove on it, and then just McAlpine and Chambers on that song. Wow, incredible, great 1-2 start. So There Is Love is a McAlpine tune. He writes the short ones on here, and they're all just super melodic. Just there's a couple tunes on here that Bunny reprises from his album that he did with Kazumi Watanabe. Those are both great. And I am not a boogie guy, but this boogie tune, wow. Talk about nuclear. When they solo on this tune, incredible. That's one of my favorites. Elastic Man is one of my favorites too. This album has no even mini flaws. Eric said no bad albums, almost no bad songs. I mean, this album in particular is just super duper consistent. And like I agree with Steven, it's a 5 out of 5. And I would say probably top 10 of all time for me of Fusion albums. It's that good. It's really, really, really good. I saw this tour and I saw Cab 4 tour. Cab 4 tour, they had yet another keyboard player. They brought Steve Weingart out with them, which, I'm not sure. I think that's that whole LA session guy mindset. Like they can just, if you get a good enough guy, you can just plug him in and really just Cab is really Bunny and Tony. I think that's what it is. That's the way they think about it. Maybe they're right because they haven't failed yet.
George, correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't right around the same time, they were doing these Cab albums, playing some shows, and wasn't Dennis also doing Niacin like right at the same time or like around like
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was in this is like height of Chambers' session guy stuff, like the early 2000s. He was on everybody's freaking album.
Yeah,
And he only turned his back on it when he got the Santana gig because,
yeah.
we all understand that. But
'Cause I saw Niacin at Nearfest, and it was had to have been 2003, maybe four. I don't
I
think.
don't think either band played a ton of gigs. I
No,
saw
right,
them
right.
in that time period, but he could probably was probably set up where he could do both. So, which is a good thing.
Because he was playing. When was he playing with McLaughlin? I mean, that's
That was like 93, 94,
so.
95.
So it's beforehand. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But he was doing gigs with. I saw him with Stern a couple times, and he was all over the place.
He's a plug and play guy. Whatever style you want, he does it good.
Yeah.
I talked to Tom Coster once after a Vital Information gig, and he was telling me, I was asking him about Chambers being on his album, and he's like, "You wouldn't believe the good way this guy works. You don't send him charts because he can't read. So you don't even have to send him a demo. He can get to the studio the first day, and then you play him your scratch tracks or whatever, and he's like, just play it through once, and he listens, and then he's like, all right, let's cut it, and he just plays. Like he says, never met anybody else like that.
It's crazy.
Not surprising.
So the George's pick, it only made sense. There is no other Cab album, but I wanted to keep it connected somehow. So the mastermind behind Cab is Bunny Brunell. We had done Momentum on another show. The other 80s album is Ivanhoe. Uh, some big name guests on this one: Chick Corea, Tony Williams, Herbie Hancock, Stanley Clark. What'd you think about this one, Eric?
This was a tough go against the four cabs. I'll be honest. But I liked it. Like you said, you kind of get the amazing guest appearances and the only thing I would say is I liked the intro on the first track. So it kind of had that distorted, gritty bass. There was something about the drumming on that tune though that just I don't know what it was. It just didn't seem to work for me. And then going home, I know we'll all probably with the smooth vocal tune that just needs to go. So we're kind of two tracks in. I was like, it's okay so far. And then Dee Dee hit. And I know at least I felt I liked the cab version better, but I still thought this was great. Um, Another awesome guitar solo on this one. And I apologize. I don't have this, George. I was streaming it, so I don't know who played guitar on that, but that was a terrific solo.
Michael O'Neill.
Okay, yeah, great. And then, Latin, this is now it's starting to heat up and Brunell is firing on the bass. The piano is incredible in this track. The synth solos, I think, are also really good. Magic Player has that. I got like a 70s vibe, the same thing, kind of the vocals, maybe like a funky disco thing. Not my thing, but I thought it was done really well. Cool tune. Song for Wayne, the piano blew me away on that. Absolutely terrific. And then as my brother, funky bass groove, that was really good. And I love the rhythm guitar. We always talk about lead guitar. I love that rhythm guitar, that right hand instead of thinking about the left hand going 100 miles an hour. I love that funk with rhythm guitar stuff. Horns were a real welcome addition. And then Nani, I kind of get, ends with kind of a mellow bass. I don't want to say bass solo, but that one I like when an album ends kind of with a punch and that kind of, it's just a little down for me on the ending of that. But overall, good record. It's tough going up against those four cabs, but good stuff.
What'd you think, Pete?
Yeah, I dug it. There's some good stuff on here. I mean, yeah, the vocal pieces. I mean, to me, Magic Player musically is pretty good, but then she comes in with these kind of screechy vocals. I'm like, ugh, I don't need that at all. But there's some great stuff on here. I love the title track with Bunny and Stanley trading back and forth. That's a treat, right? It's like didn't expect to hear that. I love Latin. I think Chick is amazing on it. Bunny's great on it. It's got great melodies. It's just really, really great. And I think that Ask My Brother reminds me of the Brecker Brothers. Again, you got the horns on there, so but it's got that funky feel to it, and it's really memorable. I like that a lot. There's great bass playing throughout this. Yeah, there's nothing really not to like on it. But like Eric said, it's like when you've been listening to those four Cab albums so much, and then you get to this, you're like, okay, it's not quite the grandiosity of those, but it's still very, very good for a Bunny Brunell album, and he's amazing on it. So yeah, I dig it. And Dee Dee's really good. It's not quite the Rampaging version on the Cab album, but it's still really good. So I like it. I enjoyed it. He's a great bass player.
What do you think, Stephen?
This is where I maybe feel a bit like an interloper. Because this was a really interesting exercise for me, because the connection between the George's Pick and the Four Square are clear. They're all Bonnie Brunel led projects. They even share a song or a composition. But I really enjoyed this exercise because it kind of clarified my complicated relationship with some fusion. Okay. I mean, the album starts on a confusing kind of opening. You've got this massive crowd noise. And I thought, okay, have I been sent a live album? It's not even a live song. It's like they're playing Madison Square Gardens time 4. It's like very odd. But it leads into the title track, and that absolutely rips it up. The interplay is fantastic there. To know that the bass and the keyboards, the guitar, and the drums, but not so much the drums, I would agree with that. I need a lot more guitar. I'm beginning to sound like Eric Porter. Because it seems to be wheeled out for the solo, and then when the solo's done, we can take them back and put them in the corner again. And I'm like, no, I was liking that. Bring that back. Please bring that back. I really liked that. And then you get to Going Home. Now, I watch every 4Fusion Friday, and I don't know how many times you guys have said, oh, a vocal track on a Fusion album. And I go, have these guys never heard of a singer before? And then you get to Going Home. They're terrible.
I know.
Vocals are terrible. Okay.
Thank you, Stephen, because I don't want to say it because I always say it,
They
but
are bad.
Well,
They're not good.
and again, it's complicated. It's Nana Villa or Nani via Brunel, wife of Bunny. So apologies to everybody involved. But it's suddenly like somebody has slipped on a bad kind of soul funk. And it was a disco hit, but this would not be a hit. Okay. And the bass just noodles around in the background. It's a little bit odd. There's not room for everybody with somebody singing like this in the song. But we still try and do all those things. It's as if they kind of knew that the basis of the song wasn't exciting enough not to have the vocals. And then they got the vocals and they decided to try and do something to take the focus off the vocals. It really just, and then you get that warbling kind of octave defying vocal on Magic Player. Wow, it's not great. It's not great. It has to be said. As My Brother, see him again. It's a great fusion song. That kind of waka 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 guitar thing immediately took me to incidental music on the TV cop show. I expect cardboard boxes to be flying and cars to be coming through. That doesn't mean to say that I don't like it, but it just took me mentally to a different space because this isn't music that I'm ensconced in. And a bass solo isn't going to solve that problem for me. And this was the interesting thing because I couldn't quite work out until I went and looked through my notes why Cab just goes, yes, and this does not for me. Because Bonnie Brunel is key, massively key in all of those albums. But my notes for Cab don't really mention him. And that's not because he's not phenomenal. And it's not because he's not key to everything that's going on. But he's seldom, or for less time, he's the lead instrument. And that says maybe more about me than him. I don't necessarily connect with bass with quite so much time in the spotlight as it seems to get on this album. Because the more of it you get, in my head, the flabbier it sounds. And it just kind of starts to lose focus a little bit. I don't necessarily love horns, so that doesn't really give me the answer either. But Daddy, I mean, I don't know if it's familiarity, because I came to that and I was like, wow, okay, so this does work, because this is absolutely fantastic. It's not as good as the Cab version, but that's just because the arrangement is just, what I was thinking about as you guys were talking about this album is Cab and Daddy. Let's just take those two songs as an example. Daddy grabs you by the throat when Cab play it. When it's on this album, it shakes you warmly by the hand. And that is the difference for me, is it's in the attack. It's absolutely in the attack. It's in the ferocity behind the way one is delivered and the way one's intentionally not. It's intentional. But the difference between the two, you immediately go, I know what that is. But they are remarkably different if you listen to them back to the back. It's actually very clever. Shows you what a key part arrangement is in making a song do one thing or another entirely. But yeah, it's really good. It is really good. But it's the sort of album I get to the end of and say that I've admired it rather than I've absolutely loved it. Whereas with the Cab albums, I absolutely love them. So it's been very, very interesting.
Yeah, you'd think this would be a tough road to hoe for me because there's two vocal songs and two ballads, and one of them is both of those things. Um, but Ivanhoe, I really like. Great groove on that slapping thing from Bunny. He doesn't slap a lot, but he knows what he's doing. Great soloing on it. That is a song that they did live, so I'm kind of surprised Cab did live, so I'm surprised they never redid it in the studio. Going home, I'll just echo what everybody else said. I get it's your wife, but you can leave that on the cutting room floor. That's no good. Dee Dee, I love, of course, and Latin has got to be my favorite song. He did what we always complain that people don't do. He got Chick Corea and Herbie Hancock on his album, and he had them on the same song. One's playing piano and one is playing mini moog, and they're dueling. And Bunny is just running lines underneath it. That part is worth the album right there. That's an incredible part. I'll be the only one and say I kind of like Magic Player. It's got kind of like a James Bond theme thing going. I don't know. Probably it's funky, like you guys said, and that almost sells me. And she can sing,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's not my style, but she can technically sing. So when you put it with that music, I'm okay with that song. Song for Wayne is the long form thing here. Herbie, like Eric mentioned, Herbie Hancock, great piano solo on that. As My Brother is got to be one of the catchiest bass lines I've ever heard. That bass line. You want 16th notes? Here they are. I mean, this dude, that is just a super creative line, and the horn lines over the top are super cool. Nani is it's a throwaway. That's all it is. And again, naming another song after somebody. Enough with that. Again, it's his wife, so I get it. But this was going on in accordance at the same time where Chick was having his wife on albums and naming stuff after her. It's just like, come on, guys. But overall, I enjoyed this album. Probably maybe a little more because the 80s were so not so good for fusion. I mean, it was kind of a downtime. So this one always stood out for me, mostly because Bunny's style is so individualistic. He's got a lot of Jocko in him, but he's definitely more rock oriented than Jocko. He's got the funk of Jocko, but he's got the rock parts, and that's for us. That's exactly what we want. So good album, but yeah, not a Cab album. Definitely not.
Cool. George, you got any hints for next month?
Yes, next month is another topic that my best friend Jim came up with. He had come up with one, I don't know, like maybe 6 months ago, the one that was the best albums, my favorite albums that we hadn't talked about yet. And this is his idea. It is female fronted fusion. So we're gonna have 4 female band leader albums, and that didn't really connect to anybody I know. So I just looked at our list and which one of our guys have we not had on in a while? Somehow we haven't had Mike Jacobs for over a year. So
Really?
yeah, I don't know how that happens. That happened once before with Cohn, where he was on the bench for a year, and I couldn't figure that out. So I was like, yeah, Mike could be good on this one. So I already talked to him. He actually picked one of the albums in the square. So have Mike come in and talk to female fronted fusion.
Perfect. That'll work. Is Hiromi going to be included, or we
There is a Hiromi in the
I
square.
figured, right? It kind of has to be, right?
Yeah. So Steven, have you figured out uh other let's why this band clicks with you and like nobody else does? Because like you say, you listen to one every month, and if I'm remembering right, maybe you only got semi-interested a few times. You like the slow Shay, the Panzer Ballet, Bruford One of a Kind, and that's kind of it, right?
No Brand X?
I don't like Brand X. I've actually got some Brand X and don't because of who's involved and thought I would do and
Yeah.
don't really connect with it. Um, I think it maybe goes back to something I mentioned not long ago, which is Attack. It's to do with the manner in which these tracks are arranged and presented as much as anything else. There is actually, for a rock guy, for a guy who comes from a rock and metal background predominantly, there's enough of that sprinkled through most of these albums to snag my ear, and then I start to appreciate what's going on. Does that make sense? Because that's why Ivanhoe was such an interesting kind of juxtaposition for me, because the similarities are all the way through, other than the vocals and all that kind of stuff. But the similarities are there. The construction is the same, but when you start to muck about with the arrangement a little bit differently, and when you start to make different instrumental choices, then it just began to kind of lose a thread for me more than anything else. So yeah, having knowing I was coming in and listening to four albums that I already had and really liked, and one that I was connected, and I suppose subconsciously thought it might sound a bit like Cab, and then it didn't. I've listened to that album way more than I've listened to the four albums for the Four Square coming into this to try and go, will it click? Will it happen? To the extent that even this afternoon I was going, one more go to see if it's just going to go, oh, right. And it's not really. I don't dislike it. And I don't really dislike anything that I come away from a show having thought that's what I'll listen to. But I don't necessarily, this is the first band, this is the only band I come away from the show thought, I need that catalogue.
Hmm. I
Yeah,
wonder
the
if
most
something like maybe Hymn of the Seventh Galaxy by Return to Forever or some of the more aggressive tribal tech albums would connect with you.
I don't know.
Or Mahavishnu, maybe.
Even
I
Steve
like
Morse stuff.
Mahadishnu because they got quite a lot of coverage in like classic rock and things back when I used to buy that. I never really found an in with them, to be honest.
yeah, it's the secret sauce is hard to pin down.
Yeah, and as the guy that's looking for that secret sauce, I don't really know where it is, truthfully.
Cool. All right, so all female stuff next month with Mike Jacobs joining us, and that'll be lots of fun. And we want to, of course, thank Stephen for coming here today. This was a nice surprise and a blast as always. And tune in tomorrow because Stephen, Simon, and myself will be back once again, 2 weeks in a row, with part two of our so far very successful episode on bands from the UK and America who were successful in one country and didn't translate overseas. So that's coming up tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. We've got also, I'm going to be bringing you two Ranking the Album shows this weekend, Grand Prix and Possessed, two totally different entities altogether, but three album catalogs for each. So that'll be coming up on Sunday. So stay tuned for that. And I'm sure the Eric and George will be back with another episode of the song-based 4Fusion Friday episode in a couple weeks. So stay tuned for that. But back here 1 month from now on the first Friday of August. Till then, visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org or on Facebook or on YouTube all together all the
All the
damn
damn
time.
time.
Please subscribe if you haven't. There, someone's like digging at my door over here. Must be one of the dogs. Please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell so you get alerted of all of our content as a post. And please do hit the like button before you leave. Let us know what you think of these Cab albums and the Bunny Brunell solo album down in the comments below. And we'll see you next time here. For Stephen Reed, Eric Porter, and George Lamie, I am Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching us here on 4Fusion Friday. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.